Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Second Chance. I'm Rudy, and today I want to talk to you guys about my timeline, my drinking timeline. You guys probably have your own timeline too. So, what I mean by that is, when I started or got introduced to alcohol and how it escalated, slowly up to the point where I was drinking more than a bottle, a pint, over a pint of tequila a day or alcohol a day, and a six pack, over a six pack to go with that bottle as well, too, every single day. So, I would say it probably all started when I was maybe 5 years old. When I was a kid, both my parents were alcoholics. They would drink every day too. My dad had his own little bar. He had like his own playroom with a pool table, TV, entertainment center. And he had his own little liquor cabinet. And I used to take sips of my dad's beer. Like one or two sips. Calm down. Don't think I'm talking about drinking a whole beer or taking shots with my dad at the age of 5, right? But that's kind of where it starts for a lot of us. That's when we first get introduced to alcohol, is when we're very young, when we see our parents drink, and then we get curious, and we might happen to take a sip out of their beer or whatever they're drinking, right? And most of us are like disgusted and repulsed by the taste at that age, and we probably never drink or touch alcohol ever again for what, another maybe 6 7 years, right? Which is kind of where I went. Around the age of 13, 14, that's kind of really when I started experimenting more with alcohol. So I do remember getting into my dad's alcohol cabinet, his little mini wet bar that he built himself, and I would just pour some of his alcohol into a water bottle or a cup or something, some type of container, and then I would refill his bottles up with water so that he wouldn't be able to tell, right? And that's kind of like how I first started drinking actual straight liquor. I think it was probably rum, and so I would take it to school. I was already in high school. I was probably a freshman, and I would sneak it in, and then go after school into the alley, across the street from my high school, and just start drinking. I mean, back then, two sips would do the trick, right? So that's kind of how it started, and then it gradually just started growing more and more, right? The more people I hung out with, the more I started getting introduced to alcohol. I remember, again, at the age of 14, my sister's ex-boyfriend, he would always buy me alcohol. I'd be drinking beer, taking shots, at the age of 14. Like, this is the things that I was doing. I was drinking, and it just kept going from there, into my high school years. I got my first DUI. I got a DUI at the age of 17. I remember it was on Super Bowl Sunday. I was on my way to work, but prior to that, I had been drinking at a little get together that I had at my dad's house. He wasn't even home. I had the house to myself, and next thing you know, I was driving, and then I got into an accident like an idiot. I was speeding, thinking I was a speed racer, and I crashed. I wrecked my car, and that was the very first time I got in trouble with alcohol or for alcohol, right? And then luckily from there, I got probation. I had my misdemeanor. My parents, paid a lot of money to, not, get me jail time or, make things even worse. So then I joined the Navy, and Navy was great. Very stressful environment, high pace, high tempo, right? So obviously, I kept drinking. I kept drinking well into my Navy career, drinking in foreign ports. I wouldn't even go to see all the beautiful sights. I went to places like Hong Kong, Singapore, Thailand, Australia, Thailand, and all these other South America, and yet I never really got to do any sightseeing because all I would do was go straight to the bar and get drunk. And that was basically most of my Navy career, was just drinking, drinking every day, uh, heavy amounts of stress. I'm not talking bad about the Navy at all. Don't get me wrong, but that's just how I coped. That's how I coped. I coped by just drinking and just bottling it up all inside, and keeping it to myself, and that's obviously not healthy, right? So again, I didn't drink every day, right? Not at first. When I first joined the Navy, I was more of a weekend drinker, casual drinker. Then I turned more into that binge drinker where I was really getting messed up on the weekends, blacking out for the first time. maybe even getting into a little bit of trouble, fighting a little bit, nothing too crazy. I remember going to TJ or Tijuana. Since I was stationed in San Diego, I would go there with my buddies. And if they're watching this right now, I mean, man, we got so many stories of all the stupid things that we did while drinking tons and tons of alcohol. Like, I don't even understand how we were able to drink the amount of alcohol that we would drink in one sitting when we would go and party in TJ. It makes me sick to my stomach just thinking about it. I'm talking about all day drinking from 9 in the morning till 3 in the morning the following day. And then somehow wake up, and keep drinking, keep drinking. Now it's Sunday, we're drunk all day again, and then somehow make it to work on Monday, at like 6:30, 7 in the morning. I don't know, right? The human body, it does what it can to not die. It really does. So anyway, so again, I'm punishing my body. I'm starting to drink. Maybe I would say for sure every weekend. Absolutely. 10 years into the Navy, I would probably say I was drinking every day. Not a bottle yet, but I would say a couple shots, a few beers. I would hang out after work, with my buddies. I would go to restaurants, Chili's, Applebee's, bars, dive bars, and things like that. And then after that, we would actually start drinking every day. Then it got to the point where every single day I would drink, every day, no matter what. Right, as soon as I got home from work. I do have to say though, I never drank during work. Never did I ever get drunk or drink alcohol while I was at work. It's just there's no way I could do my job. Impossible. So so now I'm drinking every day, a bottle a day. And if you go back and look at some of my other videos, it got to the point where I would literally pretend to still be at home. I mean, I'm not at home, but pretend to be at work. And then I would just basically hide in my car in the garage because it was a detached garage. And I would just get drunk by myself. I would just pound that bottle in like less than 15 minutes. I would just chug it and go into the house like nothing. Like I had just got home from work. It was already like 8 o'clock at night. Kids were asleep. Dinner was in the microwave waiting for me, cold. Wife at the time was just there. It was horrible. It was bad. So so that's basically my timeline, and up until the point where I decided to quit a few times, and then finally when I had my aha moment, and I decided to finally quit forever. And with the grace of God, and a few audiobooks that I listened to, I was cured, and I've been alcohol free ever since. Don't want it, don't crave it, and it does nothing for me, and it does nothing for you either. So I know this is the longest video I've ever recorded, but I think it's good info, and I hope that you guys watch the whole thing. And a lot of these stories that I tell you is because I'm hoping that you guys could relate, and that might make it easier for you guys to cut back or quit drinking alcohol forever. So that's all I got. All right, stay blessed. Please like, subscribe, and share my channel. Till next time.